Everyone knows the famous story of a Trojan horse, but that story is never mentioned in Iliad. The Homer never wrote about it. Welcome to the city of Troy.
There are three things everyone believes about Troy, and all three are wrong. A treasure the whole world calls Priam's gold, that no Trojan king ever touched. A war that poet says was fought over a woman, and a giant wooden horse that Homer never wrote. This hill kept all three secrets for 3,000 years. Let's dig. One hill, 9 cities stacked across 3,000 years. So which one is Homer's Troy? In 1870, one man decided he knew and started digging.
Right behind me is a very good representation of in archaeology when we talk about different layers of the city. I'm standing on a second part of the city, or the second stratum of the city. If you look down over there, you can see number 2, and then we have number 3 over there. The third one is number 6, and all the way on top is number 9 of the city right up there. So this is all different layers, how the city progressed at different times, starting in about 3000, going all the way down to the Roman period.
Heinrich Schliemann, a businessman who made a fortune, then spent it on one obsession, proving Homer was history. He didn't have a permit, he didn't ask the man who owned the land, he just dug.
This right below me is something called the Schliemann's Trench. So Heinrich Schliemann, when he came here, he started to dig all the way from the top to the bottom layer, all the way to bedrock. And basically, he wanted to prove that Iliad took place here and the Trojan War actually took place. But again, he wasn't a skilled archaeologist or a trained archaeologist. This is 1800, so a lot of these things were done very amateur style.
He dug straight down to the second city and declared it Priam's Troy. He was about 1,000 years too early, and to get there, he tore to the layers that actually mattered.
Schliemann excavated this part. He believed that this was the Homer Troy, but he realized in the last year of his life he was wrong. And right on the left side of the gate that's where he found the Priam's treasure that he smuggled out of Turkey, and he put those jewelry onto his wife, and he called her the Helen of Troy.
That photograph went around the world. Here's what the world wasn't told. The heroic story. Schliemann and Sophia lifting gold from the walls within their own hands. Schliemann's partly wrote himself. The treasure was dug up by the workmen. It left Turkey smuggled in basket. And Sophia, she may not have even been at Troy the day it was found. The gold went to Berlin. The Red Army took it in 1945. Today it sits in Moscow. And none of it, it's Priam's. It's 1,000 years older than any Trojan war. Helen never wore it.
Without him, the Troy could have stayed a myth. But with him, part of Troy is actually gone forever.
So the famous treasure is the wrong treasure from the wrong city. Which raises the real question, where is the right one? The answer isn't buried in the hill, it's written in someone else's mail.
Troy 1 is dated to about 2920 BC, and if you look far in the distance, you can even see Europe. There's a strait between the Asia and Europe, and this is where is the narrowest. So this is basically, the Troy was controlling all of that strait coming into the Aegean Sea.
Forget the phase that launched 1,000 ships. Look at the map. Troy sits on the throat of Dardanelles, the only sea road between the Aegean and the Black Sea. The current runs against you. The wind can pin a fleet for weeks. Hold this hill and you can tax everything that floats. That is worth a war. A woman is a story you tell about it afterwards.
Right behind me is the palace of Troy, which is Palace of Troy 2. All of this area measured about 30 times 14 meters, so it was substantial building, quite monumental. And this all of area again is overlooking the strait over there, and also it's very windy here because all the wind was coming in to keep it cool in the dead of the summer. So this is a very, very good place to have a palace.
Now climb the layers into the late Bronze Age. Troy 6. This is the candidate.
Behind me is Troy 6. It's one of the houses. It's about 33 meter elongated house. And what's interesting about this house, it has a lot of Mycenaean influence. And also they have a wall of the citadel, and all the houses were aligned and pointing to the citadel. So this was Troy 6. This was during the time of the Iliad, and most likely candidate for our Trojan War.
And the stones start matching the poem. The citadel walls of Troy 6 lean at a walkable angle, stones spaced wide enough to get a foot in. Exactly the wall Homer had Patroclus scale 3 times before Apollo throws him back. A Bronze Age wall buried for centuries is remembered in a poem written centuries later.
Most archaeologists agree that this part dates to the time of the Iliad. And behind me over there in the distance there is an island called Tenedos, which is used in Iliad. They believe that their port was there, that was a major hub during the late Bronze Age, or also the time of the Trojan War.
Then the ground gave up 2 more secrets. Troy 6 fell around 1300 BC, but its wall buckled like an earthquake hit them, not an army. The city above it, Troy 7a, burned around 1180, and that one looked like war. Scorched ruins, houses crammed together in under siege, weapons in the street. When archaeologists camp beneath the fields with magnetometers, the citadel turns out to be only the crown. A whole lower city, many times larger, was hiding underneath the soil. Not a hilltop fort, a capital. A real city on a real checkpoint with a real burn layer. Everything checks out, except the names. For that, we leave Troy, 600 kilometers east.
This was the capital of the Hittite Empire. This was the Hattusha.
And home to its filing cabinet. Thousands of clay tablets, and on some of them a vassal city in exactly Troy's corner of the world called Vilusa, Homer's other name for Troy, the name of the Iliad itself. Around 1280 BC, the Hittite emperor Wawaltani signs a treaty with the king of this city. The emperor promises, "If an enemy rises against you, I will not abandon you." And the king he promises to, the king of Vilusa, is named Alexandru. Alexandros, the other name Homer gives to Paris, Prince of Troy. A real city, a real checkpoint, a real burn layer, a real king with a right name. The war is no longer impossible. It is just not the war we were told. No tablet mentions Helot. The prize wasn't face, it was the water behind you. Which leaves one lie standing, the biggest one, the horse.
No archaeologists have ever found any horses, and also we don't really know that the story was true since Homer never mentioned it in his Iliad. But doesn't mean that the horse wasn't real. There's an option that it can be a battering ram, it could have been a ship. Poseidon was also a god of ships, god of earthquakes. It could have been his gift as well.
So where does the horse actually come from? Not the Iliad. The Iliad ends before the city falls. It surfaces in the Odyssey, in passing. The full story belongs to the Greek epic cycle, the Little Iliad, the Sack of Ilion, written down maybe 4 centuries after any war. Virgil just made it immortal. And here's the part almost nobody knows. The ancients didn't buy it either. 7 centuries after Homer, the Greeks travel writer Pausanias put it in writing. Anyone who doesn't take the Trojans for complete fools knows the horse was really an engine of war. A machine for breaking a wall. Modern scholars land in the same place. A battering ram, a siege tower. Or no machine at all. Poseidon the earth shaker, whose sacred animals was the horse, and the earthquake had written in the broken walls of Troy 6. Every one of those become a wooden horse the moment a poet needs a better story. So tally it up. The treasure, real gold, wrong king, fake story. The war, real city, real fire, fought over water, not a woman. The horse, a siege engine, an earthquake, or a poet's perfect image. 3 lies, and underneath all 3, something better than a myth. a real Bronze Age capital, on the most valuable strip of water in the ancient world that someone really did burn. Troy is real. The Troy we fell in love is with something we keep rebuilding, one retelling at a time.